If you're a creative or work with brands or just someone trying to make people care about what they create online, today's episode is your cheat code. Because in today's content saturated world, some brands have just thrown out the old marketing rulebook and embraced chaos, humor, and downright weirdness to stand out. So I'm talking about 5 brands that are doing this just flawlessly, such as a particular cleaning product with a bigger social life than you, a candy that loves to play pranks, a language app's mascot threatening your safety if you skip a lesson, and more. I'll break down what these 5 brands did, why it worked, and how to remix it for your world. By the end of this, you'll have some powerful lessons on how thinking outside the box can spark engagement and loyalty, plus some of the guardrails so you don't get fired, and ideas that you can bring up in a brainstorm meeting or publish from your couch. Here are 5 of the most unhinged brands getting creative with their marketing. Let me know which one's your favorite in the comments, and while you're here, go ahead and subscribe so you never miss a thing. Let's do this. Cue the intro. Hey there, I'm Melody Bose, your host of Jeans with a Blazer, a podcast about rewriting the rules of work and life. Number 5, Chipotle, a legacy brand that learned to laugh at itself. So Chipotle is kind of a legend with its product all on its own by creating its own genre called fast casual food. It hit that sweet spot with the quick, convenient service that you would get from a fast food drive-through, but with a better quality and better, fresher ingredients so that you don't have to deal with the shame of wolfing down those French fries while you're merging on the freeway or a sad little taco. Couple that with the industrial chic interior that creates a kind of a laid back atmosphere to enjoy your meal if you don't want to take it to go, and you have a whole new concoction here. They had the idea that you're probably not going to text your friends to meet you at the local McDonald's to hang out and catch up over a quick meal. But Chipotle is a different story entirely. At least that was the case when I was in college. So McDonald's and Burger King were the kind of late night food that you would get after a night out. And Chipotle just felt a little more sophisticated with like a cooler vibe and food you might feel a little better about eating in in broad daylight. So Chipotle has done something that a lot of legacy older brands have not been able to do. And that is that you can flex a kind of quirky sense of humor and win over young consumers in the process. So Chipotle's marketing in recent years has mixed self-deprecation, meme culture, and timely stunts to shed its corporate image and become a beloved online personality in its own right. One brilliant example, in October 2024, Chipotle teamed up with costume retailer Spirit Halloween. I know you guys all know what Spirit is, popping up everywhere. So they teamed up with Spirit Halloween and they released a line of Chipotle-themed Halloween costumes. Yes, imagine this. You could dress up as a Chipotle burrito, a Chipotle napkin, a to-go bag, a fork, or funniest of all, the notorious Chipotle water cup. So the lore behind this is if you're a longtime fan of Chipotle, like I am, this is kind of the assumed thing for Chipotle where you would ask for a free water cup and you would sneak soda or Sprite in it. Guys, I know it's stealing, I know, but I was a broke college student. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. Sorry, Chipotle. So, what I loved is that Chipotle poked fun at it and made it a literal costume. And I think that's so self-aware and cool of a brand to do. And I'm not proud of this, but when I was in college and I used to do this a lot, I got caught and in trouble exactly twice because of this. Okay, and it's really embarrassing. Don't recommend. So, listen, hard times. Anyway, so this campaign earned the brand a huge, huge buzz on social media leading up to Halloween. The costume collaboration created a buzz avalanche. Social media just lit up with images and memes of people reacting to the idea of a sexy Chipotle burrito costume or groups of friends planning to go as a full Chipotle order. Genius. By cleverly riffing on its own brand quirks and fan behaviors, Chipotle showed that it doesn't take itself too seriously. This endeared them to a younger audience that appreciates brands with a sense of humor, and it also generated tons of user generated content, aka people posting pictures in their costumes or sharing the announcement with jokes, essentially turning fans into walking billboards marketing for Chipotle. Amazing. And guys, it gets better. Chipotle's journey into the unhinged marketing space isn't limited to just one holiday stunt. In fact, the company has gone all in on platforms like TikTok, mastering the art of the viral challenge and the meme reply. So back in 2019, Chipotle had this famous challenge called the hashtag Chipotle lid flip challenge, where people film themselves flipping the lid on a burrito bowl in like style. So this garnered over 300 million views on TikTok and tens of thousands of fan videos, ultimately driving a huge spike in app orders, nice, and downloads. So that early success cemented Chipotle's faith in playful social media marketing, and since then, they have frequently launched or jumped on trends. So, by engaging with fan conversations and just being a part of the conversation as a whole, Chipotle showed that it's listening and laughing with its community. Overall, the brand's tone online is friendly, a little sarcastic, and just very self aware. And that's a pretty big shift for a company that a decade ago was mostly known for earnest ads about fresh ingredients, right? That was its differentiating factor. But it kind of took the culture behind Chipotle that its community and its customers created and just decided to go along with it. Amazing. So, why did this work? Okay, so Chipotle managed to modernize its image without alienating its core mission. And we've seen brands trying to modernize before, like, for example, Cracker Barrel when they redid their logo and interior to try and make it all, like, I don't know, not Cracker Barrel y anymore. I think Olive Garden did the same thing. So, that was really abrupt and just, it didn't feel true to the brand. That's how audience responded. So Chipotle was very strategic in doing this by keeping in alignment with itself and just kind of jumping on the trend without really changing any of its core image or values. Also, their campaigns often have a culturally relevant hook, whether it's a Halloween meme, a TikTok dance, or a popular creator partnership. This makes the brand part of the conversation rather than a bystander on the outside looking in. The point is that Chipotle comes off as less like a big chain and more like a familiar buddy that's in on the joke. The payoff is strong engagement, virality, and even tangible boosts to sales when campaigns tied to promotions. Here is some lessons for creatives around this. No brand is too quote unquote legacy or mainstream to let loose a little bit, let your hair down. The Chipotle case shows the value of self deprecating humor. Acknowledging your brand's own memes or flaws can turn potential criticism into endearment. It also highlights the importance of being culturally relevant. If there's a trend that your brand can participate in authentically, that is the caveat here, then jump in early and do it with gravitas and gusto. And remember, engaging in two-way conversations, that's huge here. Social media isn't just a broadcast channel. Chipotle is replying to fans, adapting to their behaviors, and even co-creating campaigns with them. This makes customers feel heard and valued and even closer to the brand. Finally, consistency. Chipotle's funny casual online voice works because it aligns with the experience of getting a burrito with friends. It feels genuine. It's not this, stuffy five-star dinner that you're going to, feel really polished. You're going as like a casual hangout and you can kind of kick back and make some jokes. So it works for the brand. That might not work for, say, Nobu. So that's the thing. It feels genuine. So if your brand decides to get a little quirky, just make sure that it still feels true to the brand. A well placed joke or a timely stunt can rejuvenate even a decades old brand. We have Old Spice, take a look at that. As long as it's done with heart and a cheeky wink to your audience, then there's a good chance it'll be more well received. Number 4, Sour Patch Kids, mischief, mayhem, and a marketing genius. In recent years, Sour Patch Kids have cranked up their edgy vibe with social media campaigns that are both rebellious and random. The brand's TikTok presence, for example, is full of content that brings the Sour Patch Kids vibes to life. And it's it's literally just it's all attitude. It's like they handed over their account to the actual candy and just let them do whatever they want with it. It is a exceptional use of free will. So one of the major campaigns they did was the Sour Patch Kids Sour Translator launched in late 2024. It was kind of like poking fun at Grammarly, which, if you're familiar with Grammarly, it's this app which gives you suggestions on how to improve your writing and your grammar on documents and Google Docs and stuff. So the Sour Patch Kids version, it was a tool that helped translate corporate jargon, which, as we know, I love to roast. And by doing that, it found a way to speak to the audience that is all grown up, but still young and playful at heart. It makes it clear that Sour Patch Kids isn't a candy for little kids like most candy markets do. So I thought this was a brilliant move on their end to kind of have a mature brand in a space that's dominated by, youth and playfulness and kind of kiddie stuff. So to demonstrate this, in this campaign, the brand took its signature attitude of causing trouble, but in a helpful way, and applied it to a real life problem, such as entering the workforce or being early in your career, where you may not know the politics of the workspace and all the corporate jargon used in there. So users could input stuffy office phrases like, let's circle back. And once they entered that in, they would get snarky translations like, instead of let's circle back, here we go again. And it added kind of a cheeky little twist of humor to a corporate stale language that's old and stuffy. So the tongue in cheek tool was promoted by influencers on social media and even offered candy rewards at certain stores just for trying it. So it was a cool promotion tool. And this wasn't a one off. Sour Patch Kids consistently finds ways to insert itself into a young at heart culture with a playful, rebellious vibe. Around April Fool's Day, they even doled out prank funds on TikTok. Essentially, they were paying fans who pulled off pranks just in the spirit of Sour Patch Kids' mischief. They've also run flavor competitions on Twitch by letting the gaming community vote on new candy flavors. They also built a tycoon game. If you guys remember Roller Coaster Tycoon or Zoo Tycoon, they built a tycoon game on Roblox where players could manage a virtual Sour Patch Kids store. That's awesome. Each of these moves meets young consumers where they already are: TikTok, Twitch, Roblox, and it speaks the language of fun and memes. So, why did this work? Sour Patch Kids understands that its core audience, Gen Z, millennials, loves a bit of playful rebellion, and it meets them where they are in their life as more than just a candy, but a way to bring humor into the mundane, like things like corporate jargon. The brand's humor also has a slight edge. It's not afraid to be a little bit mean or snarky before the sweet payoff. Their tagline, by the way, is first they're sour, then they're sweet. So ultimately, they're staying in alignment with their brand. This resonates with the current meme culture that is popular today, where a little bit of sarcasm and irony is just how we communicate. Importantly, Sour Patch keeps the content on brand. The pranks, the silliness, the sour to sweet persona all tie back to the product's identity. That consistency helps the humor land properly. It wouldn't make sense for a gentle, wholesome brand to suddenly act snarky. Okay, we saw this with Chipotle, the same thing, where it stayed true to its brand. This would be a little weird for something like, I don't know, Ferrero Rocher to do, right? That's like a mature chocolate, whatever. Who knows? Maybe they'll be inspired. So for Sour Patch Kids to act a little snarky, it's authentic because that's how they've always been. So, big takeaways for this: meet your audience where their passions lie and have fun with it. Okay, Sour Patch Kids shows that you can be a little edgy and still positive. It's just a balance that you maintain. Also, don't hesitate to explore new platforms like gaming and streaming, if your audience is there, of course. But do it in a native way, as Sour Patch Kids did by letting gamers and TikTok shape the content. Finally, make your audience part of the joke. When people can interact with your campaign, like comment, share, play a mini game, use a fun tool, they're no longer just spectators. They're engaged, and that's where the loyalty starts. All right, coming in at number 3, Duolingo, the menacing owl that became iconic. So, if you've been on TikTok within the past year or so, you most likely know and possibly fear Duo the owl. Duo is Duolingo, the language learning app's mascot, which is a green owl. So, Duolingo managed to turn its cute green owl mascot into this chaotic and, quite frankly, messy social media celebrity, one that sings and dances and thirsts over pop stars and also threatens to haunt your dreams if you forget to study your Spanish lessons. It's bizarre, it's hilarious, and it's a case study in genius brand marketing. I would honestly watch an entire reality show just starring Duo, just getting into chaotic, messy situations and going on apology tours. So, a few things that Duo has done is it's gone full goblin mode on TikTok, appearing in viral collabs and responding sassily to users. Like when someone rated the app poorly, it responded, instead of those like boilerplate responses saying like, "Oh, we're so disappointed that you had a negative experience, blah blah blah." It comments things like, "You're the problem." It's feisty magnificence. So Duolingo's TikTok account is the stuff of legends now. Instead of standard educational tech content, Duo, often a member of the staff in a full owl costume is shown dancing to trending songs, crashing through office hallways, and delivering motivational threats about keeping up your language learning streak. One moment, Duo might be twerking on camera, and the next, it's collabing with another famous TikTok mascot or meme. Now, I've talked before how the owl has even faked its own death in this melodramatic viral video, only to be resurrected for more antics. And it's much to viewers' amusement, of course. The audience loved it. Ultimately, it plays out like a comedy sketch show where the main character just happens to be a giant green bird representing a language app. So, Duolingo has also tied these skits into pop culture trends. They've launched wildly unexpected partnerships. For example, Duo appeared in the game Roblox, which is popular with Gen Z. It's appeared as a chaotic avatar that chases players until they practice their language. Can you just imagine? You're just playing your game, doing your, on Roblox, doing your thing, and just Duo just pops up and terrorizes you. Amazing. Then, in a particularly over the top move, Duolingo announced a collab with Netflix's Squid Game. They released comedic music videos titled Duo Joins Squid Game and Korean or Get Eaten. Stop, I can't. Obviously, this is riffing on the show's high stakes drama to encourage learning Korean and also watch Squid Game. So these videos were also very high production. They were half English, half Korean parody songs, and they racked up millions of views. And the numbers alone speak to how effective this is. Duolingo's TikTok has amassed millions of followers and constant viral moments, making a language app feel fresh, young, and culturally relevant. I don't even remember the one language learning thing that I signed up for like 100 years ago. But anyway, it was bland, boring, very corporate feeling. Duolingo is not that. And what's cool is, yeah, it helps people learn languages. Users who might never have cared about verb conjugations now see Duo as a familiar character in their social feed. And maybe trauma bonded, we don't know. The brand has become as much a meme as an educational service, yet, interestingly, that hasn't detracted from its core mission. In fact, all of the humor, like do your lesson or Duo will come for you, doubles as reinforcement for the product's value, reminding people to practice. It's a brilliant double play, guys, because it's entertaining first and educating second. So, why did this work? Let's dig into it. So, first off, Duolingo humanized its brand through a mascot and then dialed that character up to 11 on the wild scale. The owl's persona, which is a mix of friend, bully, frenemy, clown, is extremely approachable and tangible for young audiences. Duo basically became a living meme, which made the brand feel less like a company and more like an online creator. By being in on the joke, they know it's ridiculous, yet they embrace it. Duolingo earned credibility with its audience. It doesn't try to be perfectly polished. Instead, it's cheeky, bold, and unfiltered in a way that feels authentic on platforms like TikTok. At the end of the day, the strategy reinforces the product. People really do joke, like, I studied my Spanish today because I'm literally scared of the owl, which means Duolingo created a fun pressure that keeps them coming back to the app. Here's some lessons and takeaways. So, consider giving your brand a face or a character that can interact with fans in a personable way. A mascot, fictional, or even a real spokesperson with a big persona can free you to be more playful than a corporate logo might. Next, engagement over perfection is key. Duo's videos sometimes look intentionally silly or kind of low quality, which actually makes them more shareable because it feels spontaneous and real and, not a polished, heavily produced ad. Duo also teaches us to ride trends authentically by asking, how would our brand's character participate in this trend? Right? It has its own personality, its own motives, and how it goes about things. So, if a dancing owl or a singing green mascot fits the bill, go for it. The payoff can be a brand that people actively seek out just for laughs, which is marketing gold. Okay, number 2. Scrub Daddy, the ominous social media star. Okay, so we all know Scrub Daddy, the sponge with a face that was on Shark Tank. I have one sitting in my sink right now. So, what Scrub Daddy's TikTok does is it memifies the sponge in relatable, humanizing scenarios, playfully shaming nasty, ordinary sponges and celebrating its own persona. So, this self aware humor has helped a simple cleaning product become a hashtag clean talk celebrity. So, Scrub Daddy has a unexpectedly wild side online. So I imagine just being Scrub Daddy's social media team and, you're going to present your social media strategy and you're like, okay, like I have some great ideas. We're going to have some cleaning tutorials and maybe some cool like cleaning ASMR with cool like scrubbing sounds like on the different textures of like forks and plates and stuff like that. And the boss or whomever is like, "No, hate it. Horrible idea. You're all fired." I'm actually going to let my 13-year-old nephew run the social media accounts and just let's just see what happens. And I know that sounds like an insult, but stay with me. What they have orchestrated and built, it should be studied. It should be in the Smithsonian. Like, it's amazing. So I cannot confirm or deny who or what runs Scrub Daddy's social media. If it is a team of experts with a combined 200 years of experience in social media, you're geniuses. If it is a 12-year-old, then I hope you get promoted to CMO because, kid, you are going places. All right, so here's what I mean. On TikTok and Instagram, this smiley sponge cracks jokes, performs skits, and even drops its own music videos. The brand leans into, let's call it lowbrow abstract humor. The content is often absurd and edgy and just not what you would expect from a cleaning product. For example, Scrub Daddy posted a boomerang where someone is repeatedly poking its eyes, just kind of in like a violent way. It's a little disturbing. It's a little uncomfortable, but it is what it is. There's another one where the Scrub Daddy sponge looks like it's being waterboarded, and you're almost like, Scrub Daddy, blink twice if you need help. We'll get in there for you. Anyway, it's over the top, it's hilarious, and most importantly, it turns something as mundane as cleaning into just theatrical entertainment. Okay, so why did this work? Scrub Daddy brilliantly combined absurdity with relatability. Many of its skits riff on familiar cleaning frustrations, but exaggerate them for laughs. By poking fun at everyday chores, the brand stays tangible and relevant to viewers' lives. And at the same time, the quirky, kind of naughty humor, which is far from the kind of polished infomercial tone that most cleaning brands use, it grabs attention because it's so unexpected. You are blindsided by the absolute craziness of Scrub Daddy, I promise you. All right, so here are some takeaways. Even a quote unquote boring product can come alive with a bold and creative twist. Give your brand a humanish personality and don't shy away from humor. By embracing meme culture and self aware jokes, Scrub Daddy makes sponges fun. if, did you ever think a sponge could be fun? Even with a smiley face, you're just like, okay, there's like kind of a cap to how much fun we can have with cleaning dishes or whatever. But this proved that authenticity, even if it's a bit crazy, beats corporate blandness. The takeaway? Dare to be different. If a humble sponge can break the internet with a smile and some sass, your brand might just need to loosen up and get a little weird to connect to today's audience. Finally, last but certainly not least, coming in at number one, Nutter Butter, the nutty bizarre cookie. If you've ever looked at Nutter Butter's TikTok, you would probably have a lot of questions and you might honestly need a therapist afterward. This delicious cookie has taken a hard left turn into madness on social media, and I'm convinced they are just doing it for the plot at this point. When I think of Nutter Butter, I get pretty nostalgic, remembering them as like a fun snack when I was a kid, and they were so iconic because they were peanut butter flavored cookies that were in a shape of a peanut. Genius. My little kid self loved it, still love them. So you'd think that Nutter Butter would lean into kind of that legacy nostalgic vibe, but oh no. Instead, quite the opposite. So I feel like whoever is in charge of Nutter Butter's social media was like someone who was maybe like the bassist in a punk rock garage band who originally maybe wanted to be like a psychological thriller filmmaker, and they were like denied an internship at Blumhouse, so they decided, hey, I'm going to go into the corporate route and become a social media director, and then they just unleashed their revenge through the content that they made. That is the what I imagine it to be. I don't know if it's true. So let me paint a picture for you. This legacy snack brand's TikTok presence feels honestly like a surreal fever dream. It's full of these like chaotic visuals and these dark absurdist humor, and like, forget appetizing product shots, which is like food. You think that's what you would want. No, no. Nutter Butter's feed features things like a Nutter Butter cookie on fire at a playground, or wandering through a creepy, dilapidated house dripping in peanut butter. Guys, that's madness. The videos, they're distorted and they're high contrast, and they often have these really eerie sounds that don't feel like very cookie-ish, I guess. So the result, I mean, it's quite terrifying. It's interesting to see how a peanut-shaped cookie, something seemingly so innocent, is brought to life in just one of the weirdest ways. And now it has me thinking that this punk rock director of social media that I've made up in my head had, the dubious plan of bringing down the Nutter Butter brand as like a, F you, stick it to the man kind of move. But then it ended up just growing with as this cult, no pun intended, this cult following. And as crazy as it sounds, this horror comedy approach has really struck a positive chord. So young viewers can't help but watch. Maybe they can't not watch it, but they tag friends and comment like, what the heck did I just see? You have to see this. Is Nutter Butter okay? And all it does is just continue driving Nutter Butter's engagement through the roof. So many comments are a mix of confusion and delight, which is exactly what the brand is going for. Punk rock rebel, or whoever you are behind Nutter Butter's social media, you are a genius. Hats off. So by posting content that's deliberately insane, Nutter Butter sparks enormous curiosity. People keep tuning in just to see what outrageous stunt comes next. In other words, weirdness equals shareability. Another clever tactic is Nutter Butter actively invites the audience to join in on the insanity. The brand's TikTok encourages fans to stitch or duet its bizarre videos, effectively turning users into co-creators of content. They're in on the joke too. So when someone duets a video of a screaming cookie or adds their own twist to a Nutter Butter meme, it boosts visibility for the brand and makes the experience interactive. Fans feel like they're a part of an inside joke or a quirky community that just gets it. This has helped Nutter Butter grow a loyal following of young people who might not even be longtime cookie customers, but are now brand evangelists just for the laughs, just for the plot, like I said. So why did this work? Nutter Butter's team, or punk rock garage band social media director, they understand the offbeat humor of their target audience and embraced randomness wholeheartedly. The content often has no logical connection to the product aside from featuring the peanut butter cookie. And that's the point. In an era where traditional ads are ignored, something utterly out of left field is more likely to grab consumers' attention. The brand also stays true to a kind of playful anarchy, fitting for a cookie literally called Nutter, or crazy. By keeping videos short, visual, and meme-like, Nutter Butter aligns with how kids and teens consume content, and importantly, this weirdness still ties back to the brand's identity, peanuts, and just being nutty. So yes, it does feel crazy, but it's also on brand. Here's some takeaways. Don't be afraid to go nuts, pun intended. Sometimes a little shock value or WTF factor can catapult your brand into the social media limelight. Nutter Butter proved that leaning into absurdity can differentiate you from the pack, as long as it resonates with your target audience's sense of humor. You can also use platform features to encourage participation. When your audience plays along with your crazy content, their friends will notice because they're sharing it with them. Lastly, remember that humor doesn't always have to make sense. Being memorable can matter more than being logical. If the content is entertaining or weirdly intriguing enough, people will associate those good feelings with your brand. So even a 50-year-old cookie brand can become cool again. So everyone, that's the playbook. These different brands, while unique in their approach, all have a very similar pattern. They've anchored the weird to something true, such as Scrub Daddy equals joyful cleaning, Nutter Butter is nutty nostalgia, Sour Patch is mischief with a wink, Duolingo is relentless practice, and Chipotle a self-aware fandom. Unhinged doesn't mean unmoored. When your weirdness serves your why, you earn culture, not just clicks. Thanks for hanging out. Go make something a little reckless and a lot on brand. That's a wrap on this episode of Jeans with a Blazer. If today's conversation gave you something to think about, a mindset shift, or just the push you needed, do me a favor. Subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Leave a review wherever you enjoy your podcasts. It helps more people find it, and it keeps these conversations going. And I love hearing from you. Follow @Jeans with a Blazer and tag me with your biggest takeaways, your latest wins, or just tell me what topics you want to hear about next. See you next time.